Good morning, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. Thankful to be here. It's a good day. It's a blessing. Very thankful. We're always thankful for this opportunity. Like we say, it is truly an honor for us to be able to stand up here, continue to teach. God, be with us. We're so thankful. We're going to go ahead and start this morning. If you would, let us stand and turn to Proverbs chapter 6. So Proverbs chapter 6. And we will start in verse 20. My son, watch over your father's command and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Bind them on your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you are walking about, it leads you. When you lie down, it guards you. And when you have woken up, it talks with you. For the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life. Let us lift up our eyes. Hashem, Adonai, Elohim, Most High, Elyon, thank you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for your love, your mercy, your tenderness, your guidance in our lives. Thank you for how you teach us. You message that it would be a blessing to your name. That is your character and your reputation. Continue to guide us through our lives. We pray over this message that it would be a blessing to the people. May we have words that are clear, easy to understand. We just take the time to teach. We understand the purpose and the purpose of the love and the purpose of the teaching, that you would continue to allow us to grow, and we would be receptive to change and also learn how to adapt, because life is just continually dynamic, and we just pray over each one. May we walk away and say that you have met with us, and you know that our earnest desire is the blessing over the people and the guidance and the teaching, that we would receive it. You are Elohim, we are your people. Baruch Hashem, hallelujah, amen. Proverbs chapter 6. So, as I was reading through this and studying this portion of Proverbs chapter 6, a lot of connections came together for me. We have talked about before what understanding is. Understanding is the ability to make connections in your life, okay? It's usually that aha moment. Whenever you grasp the understanding of something, it makes connections and you get it. Right? So it's that aha moment. So while we were looking through this, Proverbs chapter 6, verse 20 through 23, we kind of had an aha moment. Okay? So Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 20. My son, watch over your father's command. Do not forsake the Torah of your mother. I want to read through it again because there's parts that we want to connect. Bind them on your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you are walking about, it leads you. When you lie down, it guards you. When you have woken up, it talks to you. For the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light, and the reproofs of discipline is the way of life. So the commandment of your father and the Torah, the instruction of your mother. If you look in verse 23, it says, because the command is a lamp, and the Torah is a light. The command of your father is a lamp. The instruction of your mother is the light. Okay? So I never made that connection before. And also, if you notice, he continues on to guard you against an evil woman. Okay? So you have your parents together, and when you keep their instruction and command together, then it will guard you. It will protect you. And if anybody knows, sometimes there's a struggle when it comes to being in a relationship and what your parents think about the relationship that you're in. But sometimes they are right when it comes to how much they love you and whether or not you have chosen someone who is appropriate for you. Right? Sometimes they can just tell. So that's what that's about. And if you look, he says, the command of your father and the instruction of your mother, the law of your mother. But you see, what is the light? The light does not exist without something to put it on. Right? The fire needs the wood. The light needs the lamp, needs the candle, needs the vessel. It needs to be held by something. So therefore, we have, as we have talked about before, we have father and mother, right? This is truth and mercy. This is logic and compassion. This is your father and your mother. Okay? The father is the commandment, which is the lamp. The mother is the law, which is the light. If we look into the definitions of these words, the description of the lamp it usually gives a picture for us to kind of observe this and give us a mental image. First off, it started with the rain comes down and it collects, and as the plains flood, the water comes to the top and it creates rivers, and then it goes into the valley, right? And then it says the surface of the soil is dry once it all goes out, and then the floods have ceased. The surface becomes dry, but when the soil is turned up, okay, and you start to dig, you're going to plant, the surface of the soil is dry, but when the soil is turned up, it glistens in the sun from the water remaining in the soil. This water is necessary for the seed to begin to germinate. Okay, that is the lamp. That is the glistening. The word is near. It is a lamp. It is to glisten. It is the burner. It is the candle. It's the vessel. It holds the light. Okay, so what is one without the other? The Father's commandment and the mother's instruction. The mother's law. As he talks about before, the man and the woman become one, and they were separated, and the ideal is to become one again so it can be unified in understanding, in knowledge. Okay? We've talked about this before. The Father is very logical, if you don't know that, right? He tries to come up with a solution for everything. We want to find the problem and we want to find the solution. The woman is very emotional. A lot of times they let feeling drive their decision making. Okay? So if they both became one, the man would become a little bit more compassionate and the woman would become a little bit more logical. So they both need to be one. But that's what the purpose of saying this is, because the commandment is nothing without the understanding of it, without the light. So what is the vessel without the light? What is the light without the vessel? Nothing. It's just darkness. They both need to be one. So, enlightenment is the vessel, having the light of wisdom, life-giving water that washes over the soil, oil-filled container. So it's the container with a wick that gives off the light. So it is the container. The man is the container. The woman is the light. Okay? The light is ore. Light of life. Light of prosperity. Light of instruction. Light of the face. And if you really get down to it and you think about it, the wife is the joy of the husband. Really is. Okay? It is the tenderness. It is the compassion that the man needs. When a man gets a good woman, his heart will soften. It will. He won't be so stout in everything that he does. Men are very logical. We're cut and dry. We are cut and dry. We can be very simple. We want to find the solution. And it's very important for a good man to find a good woman, because when they are joined together, the man will become tender and the woman will become understanding or logical. Okay, so they need each other. It is one. You can't just have truth without mercy. And you can't just have mercy without truth. And if you look and you read through Proverbs, it says that often. And it talks about mercy and truth, how they are one. By mercy and truth, what happens? Iniquity is purged. That's what it says. So it's not just by truth, and it's not just by mercy. Because if you're too tender, what happens? People walk all over you. If you're too stout, no one wants to listen. Why would anybody want to listen to someone who's not merciful? It's all about reflection. And mercy, this is a quote that we'll probably hit later by Josh Brown. Mercy leaves room for growth. It does. Mercy leaves room for growth. Full truth does not leave room for growth. Okay? And if you're merciful unto yourself, you will be merciful unto others. But too often we're too hard on ourselves, and no wonder we're hard on others. Because it's all a reflection. Every bit of it is a reflection. The way you treat people is usually the way you treat yourself, because it's a reflection. So if you're patient with yourself, you're going to be patient with others. If you're merciful, and even so, you look in Proverbs, he says, with the merciful, he is what? Merciful. With the true, he is true. So, it's all one. And you need to keep them as one. And that's why he often makes this connection. My son, watch over your father's command. Do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Bind them on your heart always. Some of the other versions say continually. It is something you have to always remind yourself of. And as we have talked about before, we are responsible for guiding ourselves, guiding your emotion, understanding your feelings. The way that you feel about something is usually very controllable. But the emotion is something that comes on. The emotion is there, and it is a guide, it's a signal, but your response is how you feel about it, okay? And you ever wonder how some people just have an even spirit, and you don't think that anything ever really affects them? And that's because they have learned to guide the feeling. How you feel about something is very conscious. Your emotion is a response. It just happens. But how you feel about it is determined by your past, the story that you create, the way you feel about it, right? So, do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Bind them on your heart continually, always. It is a process. You have to continue to remind yourself of it. And that's why I like the meditate on it day and night, right? So, tie them around your neck. When you are walking about, it leads you. So it is your guide. It is your guide. And how many times do you repeat things that your parents have told you? It sticks with you. It's been with you your whole life. Okay? And it's your guide, whoever it was. Sometimes we have different caretakers, and there are people that are under the provision of others in their family. But nonetheless, it is your caretaker. When you are walking about, it leads you. When you lie down, it guards you. And I love that, because when you lie down, the faith that you have that you will wake up the next morning is wonderful because it protects you, right? But what protects you at night is God's mercy. The mercy protects you at night. It allows you to have a peaceful rest. When you lie down, it guards you. When you have woken up, it talks with you. And that's a wonderful time. When you just wake up and it's just there. And you're just appreciative and thankful. For the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is light, and reproofs of discipline is the way of life. That's the verse we want to get into, because that's just the sum of it all. Reproof is the way of life. And now if we connect all this together, the commandment of your father is the lamp, and the instruction or law of your mother is the light, and you need them both together, you realize that reproof is just the way of life. It is illumination. It's bright. It makes things clear. The word or is the word for light, and it is order. It brings order. What is the commandment without getting it together? If you can't use it appropriately. The command is the beginning. Like it says, the turning over of the soil. You see the glistening. This is where it starts. Okay? And you think about it, as we talked about either last week or a few weeks ago, the purpose of the instruction of your parents is one day you will start your own family and you will be able to make decisions for yourself. That's the whole purpose. That's the discipline of it. Why do they do that? In hopes that one day you will go out and you will be successful in making your own family. That's the whole purpose. One day you can, within reason of your own mind, make good decisions. So the command is the beginning. It starts with your parents. And that's why it says honor your mother and father, because that's very important. That's where it starts. That's where respect starts, is with your parents. The command is the beginning. The vessel is dark and void without the lamp. So, what are the commandments without order? If you don't understand them appropriately, what is the command without the light? It's just a command. It's just knowledge. There's a lot of people out there gaining knowledge without understanding. So, what is man without woman? Don't leave a man alone too long. Not by himself. No, it's not good. What does it say? It's not good for a man to be alone. It's not. It's not. We're silly. We will get into trouble, lose all of our digits. Something will happen. We will do something silly. So it is good that a man find a woman. It says that that's the gift of God. It's a blessing. So what is man without woman? Don't leave us alone too long. What is the vessel without light? What is the commandment without understanding? This is all about teaching and learning. So if we had a title for the message today, it is The Way of Learning. Okay? So truth is nothing without mercy. It does not give you the result that you want. Because by truth and mercy, iniquity is purged. It will go out. Because the most truthful person with the most mercy, I tell you, will get the point across. The most tender people to me have given me the truth, and it made sense. It had the most effect on me in my life. And it's not the person who had been the most hard. It is the person who has been the most truthful and loving. So truth and mercy are one. It's one. So the commandment is lamp, the Torah is light, reproofs of discipline, a way of life. That is Torah. So the way of life is correction. Reproofs of discipline is reproof. It is correction. It's argument. It is reasoning. It is reproof. So this is the way of life. For you to be corrected. If you're on the wrong path, people want to help you. People that love you. So they're trying to get you back in line. Okay? So that is the way of life. And sometimes we don't like arguing with people, but sometimes arguing is the way of life. Correction is the way of life. Reasoning is the way of life. Because if you are out here all alone all the time, you're going to struggle. We are a community of people, and we are meant to collect. That's why people have denominations. That's why people have all these sects. That's why sects. That's why we have all of these different religions out here, because people group. We have done it for years and years and years and years. And that's why people go out looking for people of like faith, right? Because they are going out looking for a group of individuals that share their beliefs. That's what we do. We love community. That's the type of people we are. So, argument, reasoning, reproof, correction. The NLT says corrective discipline is the way of life. The CJB says reproofs that discipline. So, all of this is for our learning. It is for us to look at. It is for us to examine. It is for us to reflect. It is for us to get the grasp to help us, to guide us in our lives. When it corrects you, and sometimes it's hard, but also there's tenderness and mercy. When it corrects you, it's for your good. It's for your benefit. So we have this. All of this is for our learning. But learning is a combination of things. It is not just one thing. Right? So, the way of learning is what the title is. Learning is a combination of things and not just one thing. You can't just learn by one thing. So it's a combination of things. Hearing and seeing. This is how we receive information. We receive information through our senses. Right? So hearing and seeing is how we receive. Shema Yisrael. What is that? Hearing. Stand still and see the salvation of God. What is that? Seeing. So these are ways that we receive information. This is a part of learning. It's just a part of it, though. So much information is passing by us daily. So there's stuff that we pay attention to. There's stuff that we don't pay attention to. We'll hit two sides of this, right? So much information is passing by us daily. So much that we miss because of the lack of attention and focus. It's not that it really matters to us, but our brains do pick up on things that we have bias towards. It does do that. Confirmation bias is definitely a thing. But I'm just telling you that because of the lack of attention and focus, there's so much that goes on around us that we're not paying attention to. So not only are we to listen, see, this is how we receive information through the senses, it doesn't affect us if we're not paying attention and we focus, right? So hearing and seeing needs our attention and focus. Otherwise, we miss out. So, listening and seeing also calls for our attention and focus, which is a form of discipline. It is. If you can't pay attention, if you can't focus, it lacks discipline. Okay? So being able to see and hear calls for those things. We can hear and see, but may lack understanding. The ability to make good connections. So learning is a group of things. You can't only see and hear. It also takes attention and focus. It also takes understanding, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we can listen to and we can see, but we don't understand. We don't get it. Okay? So you got to be able to make good connections. The best way to describe it for me, okay, because it all boils down to we want to be wise. We want wisdom, right? You want to be wise in your matters, wise in the decision-making that you do in your life. So the best way to describe it, where it can all make sense to us and we make good connections, is 2 + 2 is 4, but that's just knowledge. It's kind of like sight words, right? When your children are first learning to read, they will do sight words. They will show them a cow, they will say cow, they will make a connection that this is a cow, right? But it doesn't tell them exactly how to read, because reading comes later when you start enunciating, when you start learning your vowels and your consonants, and you start making connections between it. So 2 + 2 is just knowledge. But understanding is addition, okay? When you know that 2 + 2 is 4, that's knowledge. But when you put 3 + 3 together equals 6, that's when you understand addition. That's understanding. You grasp the concept, okay? So what's wisdom? Wisdom is budgeting your paycheck. That's what wisdom is, okay? So knowledge is 2 + 2 is 4. Addition is understanding. You get the concept of it, because now I know that 9 + 9 is 18, okay? Now I have this understanding, but now I can use it appropriately when I budget my paycheck, and that's wisdom, okay? A lot of people out there have knowledge and lack the understanding. The ability to hear and see and understand with discipline is what we're looking for, okay? The knowledge brings wisdom when we can use understanding. And it's all about experience. What have you experienced? Some of life's best lessons are learned the hard way, and we gain them through what? Experiencing them. Experiencing it. So, like we were talking about before, this is the root of the message. Reproofs of discipline is the way of life. It is. It's just the way it is. That's how we learn. Okay? When someone has truth and mercy, we learn a lot better. And if we would just reflect, we'd be a lot more merciful. I've been very hard in my life, and I'm learning to be more tender, because it just does not work when it's all truth and no mercy. And it also doesn't work, because I've been that person, when it's all mercy. And you don't want to stir the pot. You don't want any conflict. So therefore you hold your peace and you don't reveal the truth. That doesn't work either. So, the ability to hear and see and understand with discipline. The knowledge brings wisdom when we connect it with good connections, which is our understanding, which is an action. Wisdom is an action. If you see that person, you don't say, wow, they're wisdom. You say, wow, they are wise, because you can see what they have learned through their actions, okay? And how they bless others, because ultimately that's what we want to do too, is teach others and help others and bless others. Proverbs 16:6. I did like this message. I do like when we get into Ecclesiastes too, because it really came to light for us in Ecclesiastes. So Proverbs 16 and verse 6, Proverbs 16 verse 16, sorry about that. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding is preferable to silver. The highway of the straight is to turn away from evil. Who guards his life watches over his way. Before destruction is pride, and before a fall, a haughty spirit. We must, talking about learning, we must be willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, it's not going to help you. Pride comes before destruction. So what does that mean? Whether it be death. So pride comes before destruction. If you're so hard-hearted, you won't listen. So hard-hearted, you don't want to see. It will create death in your life. But there's something that's even worse than that. It's something that we have all experienced, and it's something that we see. It is pride goes before destruction. That destruction can be offending the ego. There is nothing that hurts a more egotistical person than being offended. You offended me. I'm offended. It's because our ego is hurt. Because pride goes before destruction. And the beautiful thing about that is that, of course, there has to be a death to self in order to learn. So pride does go before destruction. And if you can be humbled in spirit, you will learn, because that's what he says. Pride, before destruction is pride, and before the fall, a haughty spirit. Better to be lowly in spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud. He who acts wisely concerning the words finds good, and blessed is the one who trusts in Hashem. So if you want to learn, you must be able to be humble. Growth is understanding we're not the best. Right? Growth is understanding we are not the best. That is a humble attitude. Then we can become better. If you know you're not the best, you can become better. If we think we are the best, there's no room for growth because we're on top. Celebrate others' victories as if they are your own. Can you do that? If you can say, wow, I'm glad that that person made it. Or, wow, I'm glad that person won. That is a humble spirit. If you can celebrate someone's victories as if they were their own, or were your own, you're winning. Mercy leaves room for growth. Mercy leaves room for change. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. The ways of learning. Remember, it's not just one thing, it's a collection of things. This is how we learn. It's not just hearing and seeing, but it's also trying to get understanding. And in order to do that, we've got to make good connections. But you will not listen and you cannot see if you do not focus and have the attention. It's all one. You have to use them all together. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, and I really enjoyed this because this is definitely for me. So Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 7. Then I looked again at futility under the sun. So futility is vanity, is emptiness. There is one without a second. There is one without a second who has neither son nor brother, and there is no end to all his labors. His eyes also is not satisfied with riches. And for whom am I toiling and depriving myself of good? That too is futility and an evil task. So this person is alone. They have no one. Okay? Person is alone. They have no one. Now, he said that he's toiling forever. He's continually toiling. Why? Because he's got no help. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. 4, if they fall, one lifts his companion up. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Also, if two lie down together, they keep warm, but how does one keep warm? Although one might be overpowered, two withstand him, and a threefold cord is not readily broken. Never getting or asking for help, according to these verses, is vanity. If you're always working alone and you can't work with others, it's vanity. It's vanity. You know why? Because it's a greater reward if you can work with others. The person is not the problem. And that's what I have to tell myself. It's not the person. Too often when we are arguing with somebody or we're disputing and we're trying to come into a reason together and trying to figure it out, we get angry at the person and not the problem. It's two people working together to solve the problem. The problem is the problem, not the person. If we can get that it's two people trying to work together to solve the problem, we'll get there. But we get angry with each other because we're focusing on the person and not the problem. So the person is not the problem is the problem. When working with someone, and it's good. We can't work alone all the time. You know why? Because that person sees something that we don't see. And that's what's so beautiful about perspective is they might have an idea and they might have the solution that we're missing out on because we only see one way. That's why it's a beautiful reward, as he says, because the two are working together to find out the solution to the problem. The person is not the problem is the problem when working with someone. We get upset when people don't like our ideas and come up with another plan. We don't like them to come up with another plan. We get so upset with them. That is the reward of working with someone. That's the reward because they have the idea you're missing out on. They may catch something you missed, but we get angry with the person. We get angry with the person that challenges us. I said that's for me. This is great practice in a relationship. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be your spouse. It doesn't have to. It's anybody that you're working with. It doesn't say that this is a spouse. It just says anybody you're working with. There is one person who doesn't have a brother and doesn't have a son and doesn't have somebody to work with. That's what he's saying. It doesn't have to be a spouse. It can be a spouse, but it's anybody that you're working with. This is a great practice for relationships. Two people working together to solve a problem, but we focus on the people and not the problem. It's the problem that's the problem, not the person. So all of this is about ways of learning, and this is how we work together. Because I tell you, and I have learned through work, that you don't always have the right answer. But we get so sold on something. But that's what I'm a high I, right? And we've talked about that before. The high I is, if you don't like the first idea, I got many coming up, right? I got this one and that idea and this idea, and I've thought about all these ideas, right? So the only thing that's bad about that is I'm an IC, which means I'm a very detail-oriented person. So when I've got so many ideas, I try to narrow it down to what I think that the best one is, but sometimes that can catch me up because they're actually opposites. So I'm caught in between often the best idea and becoming too detailed that this idea doesn't work. So, but nonetheless, I got plenty of them. There's more coming up behind that, right? But where I lack, someone can make that up. And that's what's beautiful about working in a group, is because they have ideas that you didn't think of. But if we become too hard-hearted and proud, we won't see. We won't hear. We won't listen. And that's why God so many times said, do not harden your heart. How many times did he say they were stiff-necked? They wouldn't listen. Didn't want to see. We get that way. That's how we are. But these verses are talking about working with someone. A three-strong cord. And people say the third cord is God. And it can be, potentially. It's a three-strong cord. When it's you working with someone, working with God. And you've all got God to lean on. Because when you got that mercy and that tenderness and that truth and that compassion and that reliability, then you can work together. Because when you find yourself falling short, you've got something to fall on, which is God. And then you come back to the person. In successful relationships, right, is the ability to recover. They have done studies, and that is what makes a relationship successful. is if you can come back. If you can come back and you say, I'm sorry, or you come back and you reconcile, you come back and you figure it out, because when two people disagree, tensions are high, emotion is strong, everybody wants their way and can only see it one way. But if you can recover, if you can come back, that is the tall tale. That is the crucial part of a relationship, the ability to recover. So hopefully you got something out of this today. Learning is not just one process. It is many things that go into one. Okay? Humbleness, discipline, the ability to focus and pay attention when you are hearing and listening. But it's not just about having the knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge, but it's nothing without understanding. And the ultimate goal is wisdom. For you to apply what you have learned. It's not even, what do they say? The best testimony is your life, right? But too often I've been guilty of going around and just beating people up with what I know. Very guilty of doing that, especially in my past. But I'm learning to be more merciful. And you know what? We can learn a lot more when we listen to somebody's story. And somebody is more willing to listen to you when you are more willing to listen. By telling you all, I tell you again, and I repeat it and I repeat it, it is all a reflection. If you are hard, the world will seem hard. If you are easygoing and you are teachable, the world will be easygoing and teachable. It's all about you. It is all about you and reflecting on yourself in order to see the world that you want to see. God bless you. Shabbat shalom.